The flesh is weak, the motto of the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands Legion were known for their machine-like brutality in battle, and their infamous favour of bionic augmentations. After suffering a great tragedy on Istvan, the Iron Hands continued this practice of augmentation, in the hopes of bolstering their strength in the face of their legion being decimated. This is a really easy paint scheme. I'm going to do this completely by hand. And this would be a great army to start if you like tanks and dreadnoughts. So let's get started. To start with, I primed this model in Surface Primer Black, or you can just as easily use a spray can. And we aren't going to be doing any zenithal highlights here, we're just going straight for the dry brush. And the first colour we're going to use is Vallejo model London Grey. And if you're unfamiliar with dry brushing, it basically involves using a short bristled brush that's completely dry. And then you add your paint to the end of the brush and use a piece of paper towel like this to get the excess off. And the whole idea behind this method is to avoid the recesses on the model. And because the paint's not thinned down, it's not going to flow into any of the deep cracks and crevices, leaving our recesses nice and dark. And you move your brush away from the light source. For example, this one is from above. So I'm going to be doing downward strokes over all the model. And this is just going to give us a really subtle highlight for our black, which otherwise would look quite dull. And once that's dry, we're going to give it a second dry brush, this time with Gunmetal Grey. And this is just going to add a nice subtle cybernetic feel to the model. It doesn't change the colour too much, it just catches these edges, so it makes it look nice and worn and metallic. And it's also going to do most of the work on the trim of this model, including the rivets. Now if you wanted to, you could paint the eyes red and call this model done, but I'm just going to do a little bit more work on this one. And first off, I'm just going to recolour the shoulder trim with this Gunmetal Grey, just with a brush this time. And then just fixing up little bits on the trim that I don't think are bright enough, such as the banding on this helmet. And then just a few details on the power pack, the chainsword and the bolt rifle. Once that's dry, I'm just going to give them a quick highlight with Dura Aluminium. And instead of doing a straight up edge highlight, I'm just going to stipple this colour onto the model, just making the armour look a little bit more banged up. And once I'd finished this, I'd give the armour a wash in Nuln Oil, just concentrating on the areas that divide the silver and the black. For the eyes, I'm just going to do a little white dot in the centre and then followed by one coat of Blood Angel's Red. And this is my favourite and easiest method for painting eye lenses. And 9 times out of 10, I think red looks coolest. Now Iron Hands transfers are pretty hard to come by, so we're going to attempt to freehand one here. And to start with, I'm just marking the centre points with the top and the bottom. And this is just going to make sure it's nice and straight. And if you break this shape down into bottom, middle, top, you'll start with a triangle at the bottom, with a trapeze shape on top of that one. Then there's sort of a line that goes through the bottom third, which is just a straight line across, and then a couple more trapezes. And then we do some very thin fingers. And then when you finish, just fill it all in. And painting white over black can be a bit of a pain, so this might take a couple of coats. Now I think that turned out alright, but I wouldn't want to do a whole army like that, so maybe invest in some transfer paper if you're going to do this. On the opposite shoulder, in a moment of absolute madness, I decided to paint one of these clan icons. Now this is Clan Felg, which looks like the easiest one to paint. But painting circles is harder than it looks, and adding these little cog bits on the ends were quite tricky. Now I didn't get any good footage of me painting this, but you'll see in the finished shots. Let me know how it did in the comments below. The Iron Hands home planet is Medusa, which is basically Cybertron. And because it's another dark and gloomy planet, we're going to be using Astro Granite Debris, which is from Citadel. And this is basically fine grit and grey paint, which you can easily mix yourself for free. Once that's dry, we're going to wash it with Nuln Oil, and then followed by a dry brush of Celestra Grey. And to finish this off, I just used some rubble pigment from MIG. But I managed to get this completely off camera, so what I basically did is added it around the feet and the legs of this model, just to tie it into the base. And there we have it, our first son of Medusa. Now I hope I didn't give away any spoilers in the intro of this video, but you should really read the first 3 books of the Horus Heresy if you want to catch up on the lore of these bad boys. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with some more content soon.